Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Real Reds Talk, an authentic football fan channel made in Manchester. This is your Europa League live draw reaction. And we've just received news that Manchester United will face Real Sociedad in the last 16. And we've also got all the other teams that are playing each other, and we'll have the reaction to that as well. But yeah, if we do go on to beat Real Sociedad, I'm not trying to get ahead of myself at the moment, then we should play FCSB or Lyon in the quarter-final. That's the kind of side of the draw that we're in at the moment. And Tottenham, for anyone wondering as well, got AZ Alkmar, who are our other potential opponents. So just before you give me your reaction, Shreyas, I just want to read out a stat for you. Manchester United has a long history of encounters with Spanish teams in European competitions. As of February 2025, they played 69 matches against Spanish opposition with a record of 19 wins, 22 draws and 28 losses. The majority of them coming in the last 10 years. This record stands at 11 wins, 11 draws and 9 losses. So not great, is it, Spanish opposition, or us against Spanish opposition? Doesn't usually work out well for us, does it? Especially given the form that we're in at the moment.
To be fair with you and honest with you, doesn't matter. Spanish teams, Mexican teams, teams from America, teams from
Venezuelan
Iceland.
teams.
At this point, I would even say teams from my country. They can smack.
Not that far. Not that far. Not just yet. Not just yet. It's getting there.
Yeah, but Sociedad has always been a tricky club. We've always, whenever we've come up against them in recent history, it's not been an easy watch. And considering the type of atmosphere we're in right now, Sociedad are probably the favorites going into this, going into this fixture. And like you said as well, a record against, Spanish teams, especially teams like Sociedad and Sevilla, hasn't really been that great. So it's going to be a very tricky encounter. But honestly, I really don't have any expectations whatsoever going into this time in the first place. And like I mentioned, if we win this, maybe we come up against FCSB, which a club that we have beaten before. So the thing is, the competition isn't that tough, especially in this area. I would say once you get to the semis, that's when you might get a quality side in this, like a Bilbao, or you get a Lazio, or something like that. Up until till that point, till you reach that point, it's still easy games. Especially when you consider the standards of the clubs that are going to be coming up against each other. It's not that difficult for us, but the way we are playing, we make things difficult for ourselves. So if we can actually just get it together, like for just even 50 to 60 minutes against Sociedad, we can actually get the job done. But it's a big ask considering the players we've got.
To be honest, we're quite lucky teams don't drop down from the Champions League, because I don't know the specific ones that have dropped out, but I'd imagine there'd be some tricky ones in there as well. Now, just for you guys who are tuning in, please do smash the like of the video. Let us know your thoughts on that fixture, and I'll get into those comments momentarily. But just a couple of stats for you. So, obviously, Real Sociedad advanced after a 7-3 aggregate victory over Midtjylland, who we know all about, Marcus Rashford making his debut, etc. So they're showing that they can score goals. 15 goals scored at the minute. That's 1.67 per match. They've conceded 10. On average, possession is around 51%, so it's kind of 50-50 there. 3 clean sheets, 25 yellow cards, and 1 red card for Sociedad. If you look at the top performers, Mikel Oyarzabal leading with 9 goals across all competitions, and you've got Brais Mendes as well, who's contributed with 1 goal and 3 assists in the Europa League specifically. Does your boy still play for him? Q-Ball?
Yeah.
Is it? That'd be interesting, then. Is that a bit of a Shreyas derby? I'd be looking forward to seeing him. Because it's at Old Trafford as well, the first game.
Yeah, and look, considering the wingers that they've got, both of them, not just Kubo, but Baranteshia, they've got another winger there on the left-hand side, and their setup keeps on changing. Some games they go 4-4-2, some games they go 4-2-3-1, so you don't really know, what kind of setup they're going to be coming up with, but they've got some very good, I would say, options, especially, the players that you just mentioned. Oyarzabal is a very scrappy striker, and Brais Mendes as well. He's a big physical figure in that midfield. So if we don't have Ugarte back by then, could be a big trouble for us to actually, hold him down in that midfield. So they've got some very good options. And even at the back, I think they've got Agard from West Ham on loan. They've got Elistrundo, another centre back, and they've also got Zubimendi in that midfield, who's very technically skilled. So it's not going to be an easy game for us.
It's just Spanish opposition in general, isn't it? I always feel like we really, really struggle, whoever it is, and we've been knocked out. Sevilla was one of them that sticks out to me straight away under Ten Hag when we took a 2-0 lead, and then we ended up going out with De Gea's mistakes, etc. I think Atletico Madrid knocked us out, didn't they? Obviously, when we played, was it Ragnick that, I think, when we got knocked out, potentially? We played Lindelof at right back, wasn't it? And everyone was like, what the fuck's going on here? And João Felix scored a header, I think, in that game. I'm trying to think of other ones. I'm sure there was ones under David Moyes and Jose Mourinho where we went out.
Under Oli, we got knocked out by Sevilla as well in the Europa League semis. Under Oli, we lost to Villarreal in the Europa League.
Oh my God, the final. I don't know, I've not even mentioned that.
Under Mourinho, we got knocked out by Sevilla in the Champions League.
Yeah.
So, not been, quite smooth sailing for us.
No.
The best results we've actually had with Spanish opposition came under Eric Ten Hag when we beat Sociedad in the group stages. Then we went on and beat Betis in the group stage, then Barca as well.
Oh,
and
because
then
I remember when we kept drawing Spanish teams, we was like, what the fuck's going on here? But then we kept beating them, and then there was like this narrative flip where it was like, actually, give us a Spanish team and see what we can do with it. But Sociedad are quite a tidy team. But having said that, they are 11th in La Liga. Out of the last 5 games domestically, they've only won 1 out of the last 5. So they're not an amazing team. They're not in the best form. And if you want to start, that's going to kind of increase your confidence. I don't know how this is possible, but we are the only side across the Europa League and the Champions League to remain unbeaten this season. Yeah. The Amarin effect, people, is in full... I'm joking. I'm not getting that far ahead of myself. Right, let's go to the comments and see what people are saying. Tim99 saying, Tricky, Superfly saying, we are crap either way. And home advantage, second leg also means nothing because we're also crap at home. Love the confidence. Appreciate that. David Harrington saying, we struggle to beat teams in the bottom 3 of our league. Every game is difficult for us this season. Josh saying, because we're playing Real Sociedad, we played them in Europa League group stage last time. The only thing I'm confident about is our European form is night and day to our league form. We ended the group unbeaten. I just hate playing Spanish teams. Most of them are brilliant on the ball. That's what I worry about the most. Shreyas, to be honest. Them just taking it over, making us work, and then punishing us. Out of the 2, because obviously we could have got Alkmar as well. Would you have preferred Alkmar to Sociedad?
No.
How come?
The reason being, Alkmar are a very high-scoring club.
Yeah.
Whenever they
smashed
do games,
right?
Oh yes, they did, and they're a very attacking team. And one of the things that I really dislike about this squad is that whenever we come up against teams that are very proactive, play a high line, especially this season, we've always crumbled against these sort of oppositions. Be it Spurs or Liverpool, any of these oppositions, we've not really been able to hold off our own. So Alkmaar, I would have been a bit more concerned because one of the things about Alkmaar is they try and get things done within the first leg itself. That same thing that happened to Galatasaray and in previous games as well. So I think against Sociedad it will be a much more cagey affair. I don't see it being a flashy 3-2 or 4-3 sort of a game. I think it will be very cagey whichever direction it goes.
We just put it out on X. If anyone wants to drop us a follow over on there as well, it's in the bottom right hand corner of your screen. We put it out, and someone just put, "We had a good run." Oh shit! I just changed the screen. Yeah, they said we've had a good run. That's it. Now we've got a Spanish team, and we're kind of out. Now, for anyone wondering about the rest of the teams, how it's kind of shaping up in the round of 16, it is on your screens. You've got AZ Alkmaar versus Tottenham. You've got Ajax versus Frankfurt. Bodo Glimt versus Olympiacos. Victoria Pleasant versus Lazio. Fenerbahce versus Rangers. Would not like to be an away fan travelling there. Not a chance. Roma versus Athletic Club. You've got FCSB versus Lyon. And then, of course, Sociedad versus Manchester United, which you already know. But if they can actually find, like, a fucking spark of form, you can win this. It's definitely winnable. I'm not asked what anyone says. If you can actually start playing well and live up to the qualities...
You understand what you're saying, right?
No. But I'm just saying, like, the competition is... The main point I'm making, right? I know we're shit, so just put that aside for a moment. It's never been easier to win the Europa League. Now, in a minute. That's factual. Because you got...
This is the best chance that you get because Roma are playing Athletic Club.
Yep.
So one of the favorites is gone. Just like that.
Yeah.
So honestly, the competition isn't that tough, but I just don't know with this team absolutely.
I know.
Because I still don't know. The biggest concern right now I have isn't even the midfield. The biggest concern I have is where the goals actually come from. Because now that Ahmad is
Yeah.
gone, I just don't see any outlet in that attack. Like barring miracle games and Bruno actually pulling us through fixtures. That's the only way where I see United actually getting some goals and getting some wins. But the results are going to be a big worry, and especially in a knockout fixture
Hmm.
where I've always said this, and even you said this as well. You need to kill games off. If you're 2-0 or
Yeah.
3-0 up ahead, you need to kill games off within the first leg itself. If you drag it on into the second leg, it can get very messy. And it has
Yeah.
actually, come back to bite us on a lot of occasions. So it's going to be tricky, but it will be typical United. Like if we finish 15th or 16th, and then we end up winning the Europa League
Mm.
and qualify for the Champions League next season.
I mean,
Actually, go ahead, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say we had obviously Jay Motti on last night. Make sure you check that out, by the way. Really, really good
Yeah.
kind of chat with him as it always is. But I was saying we could become the first team to get relegated and win the Europa League. That would be nuts,
Yeah.
wouldn't it? Imagine being in the Championship. He said, "Yeah, we could be playing Rotherham on the weekend, and then you've got fucking Real Madrid at the Bernabeu the game after."
Yeah.
Madness in it this season.
Yeah. I just read somewhere that 2 years ago we were 5 points off the top of the table.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Two
It's
seasons ago,
absolutely
2 years
mad.
ago at this date, we beat City and we were
Yeah.
5 points, just 5 points off first spot.
Everyone's absolutely moaning about this this fixture. Sociedad would be tough. Sam just put that's us out of the Europa then. 22 subscribers away from 13,000. We are, yeah. So if you are new and you're just joining in and you're thinking, whoa, what's going on here? Hit that subscribe button, please. Bottom right hand corner of your screen. Steph saying, big up Nick with Ali G glasses. Right, let me explain these glasses, right? Because even when I did that chat with Jay yesterday, he was like, what's going on, mate? And with these, basically, I look a little bit like Egg the Davids. These are, so what I work in social media as well for a job. So I'm staring at screens practically all day, which makes me feel like a fucking zombie, right? Especially doing this as well. So these are simply there to protect my eyes, right? It's not a design choice. It's not like I really want some tangerine glasses. That's not what's going on here. It's just to protect my eyes, all right? But I appreciate the
He's getting
the
old, guys.
comparison. All right, yeah. I'm nearly 30 in July. Would you believe it? Madness. Ajax and Frankfurt and Roma versus Atletico Bilbao are good ties. There's not many big teams in this competition, so if we're decent this season, I would have been confident that we could have gone all the way and won it, but we haven't, and we can't score goals. David saying, can we play Spurs in the final? Imagine losing that to them. We rarely beat them anymore. I think that's the way the tournament bracket, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the way it goes, isn't it? We could play Spurs, and if we get Spurs in the final, if we lose that as well, that's 4 times you've lost to him. 4 fucking times in one season. I can't deal with that. I think I'd actually put my resignation in as a United fan if we lost.
I wouldn't want to face Spurs anymore this season, even if it's a final or a semis. Just not gone our way any single. I don't even remember. Like last season, did we beat Spurs?
Under Ten Hag, that's a good question. I'm trying to think of the games. I think we definitely lost one of them.
Yeah, and then I think the other one we drew at Old Trafford.
Yeah, you might be right. But it's not been great. I mean, we always called it like say banter Tottenham and stuff, but to be fair, they've had our number the past couple of games. And I genuinely I think Alkmar could even knock them out. So I wouldn't even guarantee on Spurs getting all the way, to be fair. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. But I do think it's a shot in the dark, but there's a real opportunity there to go and do something. I'm not getting my hopes up. I'm not going to allow myself to it because I know we're shit. But like
I'm just gonna close my eyes and ears till the time I see us actually making it to the final. That's when I'll actually go. Maybe
that's when we'll probably lose though. Like they'll get to the final and then they'll be like, just because of the way this season's going, the way it's been at the minute, how shit it's been. The narrative for United, for a fact, it's gonna be they will get up until a point and they'll be like, oh, build it up, and all the fans are like, yes, we're gonna win it. Because you look at our history, we've won things before. We've been shit. We was shit last season. And we beat the best team at the time in the world, probably, in a final convincingly, in an FA Cup final. Yeah. So if you can get there, by whatever means, penalties, scraping through, we've shown before we can do it in final. Spurs have bottled it whenever they've got to that stage. Yeah. So that is the mentality I would like to use, but I appreciate that, it is a Spanish team that we've got to get past first, so we'd have to worry about that. Do you think Amorim would be happy with that, Joe?
Amorim, I guess, because I think he has had some good experience, especially being a Portuguese coach himself. I think he has a good experience of actually how to fare up against Spanish teams.
Mm.
And during his tenure at Sporting as well, he has had some opposition teams from La Liga, so he knows what he's coming up against. And I think it is better at Sociedad just because they are not that sort of a side where you need to play on the back foot. Sociedad, even in La Liga this season, they've always been a team who starts the game on the back foot. They've
Mm.
never been aggressors. They've never been, even whenever we've played them as well, they've always invited us to actually move into their spaces and actually try and attack them, and then they try and get a scrappy goal of a counter and just sit back and defend for the entire game. So in that sense, it's a better fixture for us against Alkmaar, because Alkmaar would have been a much more strenuous fixture when it comes to, I would say, pressing, when it comes to work rate, and actually, covering distance on the ground. And we still don't know what players we'll actually have available till that time. So I think Sociedad is a better fixture, because in this game, maybe even if you have to use Casemiro, this is a better game for Casemiro to actually play in, because there's not going to be as much running. And considering, all his years in Real Madrid, even he has a good idea as to how Sociedad are going to be coming up against in this game.
I think if you can use him as a bit of knowledge, then I'd be okay with that. Because
Yeah.
obviously he's played against him so many times. He knows the league inside out. I'm pretty sure the manager who's there, Imanol something, I think it is. He's been there for a long, long time at Sociedad. So they play a certain style. Casemiro know all about that. The issue is with Casemiro, you need a Zimmer frame and a Lucasade to get him going. These days, he's just not at the races at all, is he? Chivy saying, I was super confident earlier in the season, but with our injuries and depleted attack, I think winning this is too big of an ask. I think Ahmad and Lissandro being missing
Yeah.
Shreyas, that's the big one in it. That's hurting us.
Yeah, and look, the thing is, Ahmad actually breathes some life into that attack, because it's the only way we actually saw things actually clicking. And when he was playing in one of those inside 10 positions, Bruno seemed to play a lot better as well, because it allowed him more freedom to move into spaces. Ahmad does really well when it comes to attracting defenders out of their spaces, which helped Bruno, which helped Garnacho to make those sort of crosses into the box at the last moment. So his effect in this team has been a lot, and him actually moving out not only kills us when it comes to moving into the final third, but even when he has been used as a right wing back, he helps us to actually get that sort of width when you're trying to move the ball forward. So it's absolutely killed us whenever we're trying to actually move into the final third. And I just don't know who is going to step up. Like take other players out of the picture, and take Bruno and Ugarte and Menu out, because they are not your goal scoring options. You look at Garnacho, you look at Hoyland, you look at Xerxes. I don't see where the goals come from.
And especially with obviously Mainu being out as well, Bruno's going to be deployed deeper more often than not. So he's not going to be able to offer that kind of attacking output that he would usually do. That's the one I would look to in a minute to kind of be like, if we need anyone to score goals, find some sort of alternative. My throat's going. Put Casemiro and Ugarte, let's say, in the middle of the park. Put that steel in there, because you've still got the legs with Ugarte around there as well. Casemiro can break the lines with his passes.
Exactly.
Push Bruno up further. And have, I don't know, Bruno, Garnacho, and then Hoyland, and then switch it sometimes with Xerxes, etc. That's the way I would go about it at the minute. But I thought Casemiro and Ugarte, I'm pretty sure they played under Rude, right?
Yeah, they did, and they looked quite good.
Yeah,
Casemiro looked quite good together.
Yeah, that's the way I would go personally. Maybe especially in Europe, you need experience, you need leadership in there. And you put Bruno in the front line, you've got someone who's 29, 30, played loads of European games. You put Casemiro in the middle of it, because he'll have Dorgu, Dalot most likely, and Ugarte, who don't have loads of experience in there. So Casemiro could be the one there. And then in the back line, you've got Maguire, who's 30 odd. You've got De Ligt, who's obviously played for so many European clubs. You've got experience then throughout. You've got a wealth of experience. So that is what I'd do. But he just doesn't seem to trust Casemiro at all, does he, Amarin?
Yeah, and I get why he doesn't actually trust him, because in this system, it doesn't work in his favor at all. The amount of ground you have to cover, the amount of agility that you need on the ball as well. And there are not a lot of options when you're being pressured in this. I would say, as a midfielder, when you're being pressured, there aren't going to be like 2 to 3 channels for you to actually move the ball out and then switch places and try and move the ball out from the back. As a midfielder, especially as a 6, in this sort of system, You need someone who is like, he knows how to switch the ball out like that. And Casemiro is not that sort of a player, and that's why whenever we saw him do that against Spurs, we ended up losing out on the ball, because that's not his game. That's genuinely not his game. And that's not what he's about at Madrid, and that's not what he's going to become now at the age that he's in. So I think his best bet was actually playing with Ugarte and Collier in that midfield, and I think Ugarte and Collier actually looked quite decent together. Collier did quite well, in that duo as a midfield, but I just think these injuries at this last moment against Spurs, I don't know how it's happened that we've lost 4 to 5 players just like that within the span of a week, but it's just genuinely killed any sort of momentum or morale in this team altogether.
Yeah, I agree. But it's a shot that I think Eminem said, if you had one chance, one opportunity, sees everything ever you wanted in one moment, would you capture it or would you let it slip? That is what I would say. I'd just play lose yourself in the dressing room, basically, to the players just before they go out. So I'm not sure actually when we play that tie. It'd be interesting to know when that fixture is. I'd imagine probably next month at some point, March. It kind of re-kicks on again. I'll try to find the information on that. But just a few little news bits, if we can, Shreyas, before we head off. There's some stuff coming out about the Glazers. Obviously, we had the interview at Sky Sports. I say an interview. It's not the guy. I mean, Avram gets followed for about 2 minutes, and then at the end of it, he just goes, no, basically, and will you be selling it? But this news got reported this morning that the Glazers apparently have an option within 6 months to sell Manchester United and force Sir Jim Ratcliffe to sell his stake. Ratcliffe has the option to make his own offer first, and he wants to increase his stake if that option becomes available. But at this point, when they've been, 20 years in charge, they just don't seem to give a shit, do they, at all? It just doesn't feel like they're ever going to leave this club, at least in my lifetime. Well, maybe they'll pass it on to the little rat glazers if they've got kids or whatever, but it just feels like they're always going to be there, doesn't it, at the minute?
Yeah, and this whole ownership thing as well, I just don't know what's going to be the end result of it, because they seriously, I would say, when it comes to the Glazers, they are in no position when it comes to handling the club financially, especially with the kind of debt that we are in, especially when you have to even look at the debt when it comes to owing money to other clubs and pending payments that we've got for players to other clubs. So they are in no position when it comes to actually just gliding through it or coasting through this time, because there's going to be a lot of investment that's required. You've got the debt as which is already there, reinvesting in the training ground, rebuilding Old Trafford. So it's going to take a lot of money to actually get all of these things done. And they've genuinely only got 2 alternatives, even and that's either they end up selling to Ratcliffe altogether, which I don't see particularly happening at the moment. I think it will be someone else coming in and just taking full ownership of the club.
Yeah, it's again, I spoke about this yesterday. It feels like at the minute, it's everything. Everywhere you look, you can't get away from it. It's just depressing, isn't it? Whether it's performances on the pitch, whether it's stuff with Ineos, whether it's stuff. I mean, we just had some news coming in now. Omar Barada's threatened staff at United with the sack if they leak information. Having launched an investigation into the leaks, Barada's warned employees via email that revealing club info will be considered gross misconduct. We also heard stuff about leaks that Amorim went absolutely mad. So one of the sources who was putting stuff out says, I'm going to have to lay low for a bit because Amorim's basically gone absolutely berserk at these team leaks that have been going out and stuff like that. So it just seems like, I mean, I think it was Sam who used the analogy where it's like when you've got all these holes that are like this water kind of coming out of it, and once you plug one hole, the other one starts leaking, and we just can't seem to get on top of anything on camera.
Yeah, but I think all the things that are being done, and especially the actions that are being taken, and they are all going to be drastic, because
Has to be.
This is the first time I actually seeing stuff like this come out, that the manager is going berserk. Omar Barada is actually looking into it as well. And we've had team leaks, I don't know since when, to be very honest with you.
Well, I'm not saying it's this player, but as soon as a certain player went, that's when it stopped.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and the whole point is now that things are actually looking. This is the first time it is being taken this seriously through all of these years. If you look at Ollie's time, you look at Ragnick's time, you look at Ten Hag's time, you look at Mourinho's time or Van Gaal's time, this is the first time this thing is actually being taken that seriously. So hopefully it has some sort of effect on the other players that are currently present at this club. So
but then I think what benefit do you get from leaking. What
Yeah.
if anyone could tell me one positive you get from leaking a team, I'm here for it. I'll listen because I can't think
Yeah,
of one.
because it only puts you in a worse position. You know, when you're coming up against an opposition and the
Yeah.
opposition already knows your 11, you're already playing at a disadvantage because if there is any other manager in the world and go and see the lineup and they go, oh, Bruno is going to be playing with Casemiro in that midfield. I don't need a midfield altogether. I can just play all attackers in that midfield as well and just go for it.
Yeah.
So there's going to be lack of planning. There's going to be a lot of situations where we start the game less prepared. So there's genuinely no upside to it. Even in the longer run, there is no upside to it.
Yeah. Was it the? I was trying to think. Was it the City game where it got leaked a day before? I think it was the full day. I think it was Luckhurst put it on Facebook.
Yeah.
The lineup that he got, and then he was trying to say, "Well, I didn't leak it. This was passed through from information." And then at the time, I was thinking, "You fucking put it out. If you would have put it out, no one would have knew it." 24,
Yeah.
like forget about that kind of stuff. Like it's just ridiculous.
And that was the time when we first heard, even in the derby against City, it was one day before that we heard Varane has had a falling out with the manager, and Varane is not even included in the team or in the training session. So all of this stuff, it just puts you at a disadvantage.
Yeah. Omar Barat, so this is the email that says, anyone disclosing information outside of the club is breaching their obligations of confidentiality, and we are very clear that this will be considered gross misconduct. To protect the club and its colleagues, additional measures are being put in place to prevent future breaches of confidentiality and also identify any persons responsible. So, quite firm, to be fair. Yeah, I get it. It has to be done. You've got to take these kind of actions, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's high time that it is actually done.
Yeah. Charlie saying, don't think you need to worry much about what Jim and Glazers are saying right now. They cannot talk about selling or buying. It would get them tossed in jail for inside training. This is a good point, to be fair. Get favoritism from your journal contacts. Favoritism what? I don't get what you mean. Elaborate on that, Tim, for us, if you can. If you are just joining and you've been living under a rock, by the way, Manchester United are playing Real Sociedad in the last 16 of the Europa League. If we do get past them by some fucking miracle, we will play Lyon or FCSB after that, and then we get either Rangers, Fenerbahce, Athletic Club, or the other team, I can't remember who it was, in the semi-finals. So some people might say it's a favourable run. Some people might say we'll get knocked out by Real Sociedad. I guess there's only one way to find out. Appreciate every single one of you tuning in on this Friday afternoon. Hope you all have a wonderful weekend. If you can check out our show that we did with Jay Motti yesterday and let us know and comment and tag Jay in it, etc. That'd be amazing. Apart from that, have a lovely weekend. I'm going to go film Premier League predictions because we've got a game tonight as well. And then we've got the early kickoff with Everton tomorrow, which we'll have the pre-match action for and post-match. And I think Alex, who's an Everton fan, is going to be on the post-match with us to discuss that game. So it could be very, very interesting. Are you up to anything, Shreyas?
Yeah, just going to watch out some of the games, and apart from that, just going to wish that we have a good outing against Everton.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. Everyone else do it. Fingers crossed. It's going to be a tough game at Goodison Park, but take it one step at a time. Otherwise, I'm going to overload myself with anxiety. So, yeah. Take it easy, everyone. Smash the like on the video. Subscribe to the channel. Real Sociedad in the last 16. Interesting.